I've got some students from Stanwood Middle School. Come on over here, boys. And I see that you've started a little fire here. What's your plan? What's cooking?
Oysters.
Aha, you're going to be cooking oysters today. Did you know that we have oysters that live right here in Padilla Bay?
Yeah.
Aha, so you knew about our oysters. In fact, we have an oyster from Padilla Bay. Would you come right on over here? You can stand on this side of me. Here's one of our oysters from Padilla Bay. And you live in an oyster bed nearby, right?
Yes, I do.
Can you point to where your oyster bed is? Oh, we have a picture of it. Yes, that's it. There's a picture of our oyster bed because the actual oyster bed is over my shoulder in the gray, out in the deep water there. The tide is in, but that picture shows the oyster bed at low tide. You can see in the picture that there's actually land over on the other side of Padilla Bay, but we can't see that today because of the fog. Now, Oyster, there's one question that I was wondering. What do you eat?
Plankton.
Plankton? What are plankton? Do you know what they are?
Very small animals.
Very small animals, and probably you eat very small plants too.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, both kinds of plankton. That's true. Okay, thanks, Heather. We've seen that picture of the oyster bed. Now, oh, and look at this. We have some oysters right here. Isn't that handy? These might be the ones you're planning to cook, I guess.
Yes.
Yes, all right. Good. They look delicious. And just hold them real still there so that, because he's zooming in. You might want to tip this great big one up this way so they can see. All right. So oysters live in an estuary. Kids, I've got a question for you. What is an estuary? It has three things. An estuary has
Salt water in the ocean.
salt water from the ocean and
fresh water from the land.
And the third thing that it has to have for an estuary?
Land around it.
It has to be enclosed with land. If it wasn't so foggy, I'd show you the land over on the other side. I guess we'll have to show you a map instead. Heather, could you bring this map over here? This is a map of the Salish Sea. Heather, just point to the big white body of water in the middle there. That's the Salish Sea. And Padilla Bay is part of the Salish Sea. Can you point, Heather, to where it says Padilla Bay there? That's it right there. That's our little bay right there in the big inland sea called the Salish Sea. And of course, most people have heard of Puget Sound. That's down where Seattle is. Heather? There she is pointing. You see where the Salish Sea becomes real skinny down there towards Seattle. That's a fjord, and Seattle is located right on Puget Sound. Thank you. That ought to do it for that. And now I see that the park ranger is over here by this sign. He's looking a little bit nervous about our plans to be barbecuing these oysters. So come on over here and we'll talk to Greg John. He's the ranger here at Bayview State Park. And Greg, we do a lot of our programs down here at Bayview State Park, and I really want to thank you for all these great things that you allow us to do at your park. Thanks for being such a good partner. Now, why were you looking so concerned when I asked those kids about their oyster barbecue?
Well, I was kind of concerned because we do, if you look at the sign, the beach here at the park has been closed, is closed now, and has been closed for a number of years.
The beach is closed.
Yeah.
You mean they're not
Because of
allowed
pollution.
to harvest
Correct.
the shellfish?
Correct.
So, Greg, can you tell us why the beach is closed?
Because of fecal coliform out in the water. That's the big issue here.
Aha, there are fecal coliform. These are some kind of bacteria, aren't
Right.
they?
Yeah, they're in the intestines of all warm-blooded animals.
Oh, did you hear that, students? Fecal coliform bacteria live in the intestines of warm-blooded animals. You must remember that because I'm going to ask you a quiz later. You'll have to remember where fecal coliform come from. Now, Greg, maybe you can explain to us, why is it a problem for there to be fecal coliform bacteria? I mean, there must be all kinds of bacteria in the water. Why are the fecal coliform bacteria a problem?
Well, because the problem with fecal coliform is that it's beneficial to people. We all have it inside of us. But if somebody's sick, they might have other bad diseases inside their intestines. So therefore, when we come out here to the water and test for fecal coliform counts, we're also looking for the other bad diseases that might be associated with that.
But I thought you said that fecal coliform bacteria live in the intestines of humans or in warm-blooded animals. So let me get this straight. Are you saying that there's poop in the water?
Exactly.
Aha, I understand.
Yep.
So if I was to consume some of those fecal coliform bacteria, they wouldn't harm me, would they?
You could definitely get sick.
But not
No
from the fecal coliform bacteria.
No, you could get other things like E. coli. That's a big issue right now with the spinach industry throughout
That's
the country.
right. I heard
Huge.
that in the news. There was a problem with E. coli in the spinach.
Right. And a couple other things you can pick up too would be hepatitis, which is not good, nor is dysentery.
Right.
big ones.
There are probably lots of diseases that people have in their
Exactly,
body.
yep.
And if those diseases get into the water, then that would be a problem.
Exactly. And that's why we have the beach closed.
I see, because we wouldn't want to eat that stuff. But do we know where the fecal coliform here in Padilla Bay are coming from?
We have some pretty good guesses due to the testing that you folks have done and the Department of Health. So there's some pretty good ideas as to where it's coming from.
But we don't know for
No,
sure,
we don't.
right?
No.
I always have this idea that if you find the right expert, if you have a question, you'll be able to get the answer to it. But now I'm finding out that even you don't have the answer to that
Exactly.
question.
Exactly.
There is a way that we can find out the answers to these kinds of questions. It's called the scientific method. Heather, it's time for us to take a look at the 6 steps of the scientific method. This is how we're going to answer the questions today. We're going to start with observations. This will lead to a question, and then from that we will develop an hypothesis. Then we will make a prediction, design an experiment, and finally look at the results.